Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be learning about the end of the Vietnam War. And I've got the special guests back today, Connor and Carson, to help out and help you learn about this. So, first off, we're talking about the part of the Vietnam War where Richard Nixon's in charge, President of the United States. You'll also be reading about Henry Kissinger as National Security Advisor. They obviously play a big part in what American policy is going to be here at the end of the Vietnam War. So, the term here I want to start with today is a term called Vietnamization. And to help demonstrate this, I've got a baseball. Okay? We're missing baseball now during this pandemic, but this baseball is going to represent freedom and democracy. And my oldest son, Carson, he's going to represent South Vietnam and what we want to have there, which is freedom and democracy. So he's holding on to this freedom and democracy. You see that? All right, holding on to it. My youngest son, Connor, we're going to call him Commie today because he's going to represent communism, okay, and what North Vietnam wants to bring to the South. So for a long time, the United States, for the first part of the Vietnam War, the United States is fighting with the South Vietnamese. They're trying to protect democracy, and we are fighting against communism. All right, so we're fighting together against communism, and we're pushing communism back. Okay, all right. The problem is, communism keeps on getting up, okay? All right, keeps on getting up. So the United States is sacrificing a lot of troops. We're there for a long time. We want to leave. Richard Nixon signals we want to leave. So we're trying to train. We want to train. I'm going to be America here. I want to train the South Vietnamese troops to take care of their own business and go after communism, okay? So I'm going to train him. I'm going to give him some tips, whisper in his ear here. All right, so tell him what he needs to do. Now he's going to try to fight against communism. Hey, he's going to try to fight against communism on his own. Go ahead. It's not going well. So communism's winning. So I'm going to step in. I'm continuing to step in. Vietnamization is not really working. And I'm going to step in and continue to help out and push communism back. Vietnamization. But the ultimate goal here is that the South Vietnamese can protect democracy. He's losing it. He can protect democracy on their own. Okay, that's the goal. That's the goal. All right, so we're gonna bring him out here for just a moment. Go ahead and step out for a second, boys. I'll need you back in just a moment. So as we talked about, and as you learned last week, Richard Nixon starts to do some things that start to get the public to go against the war a little bit. Kent State, we looked at last week. Richard Nixon. The bombing of Cambodia in 1970 starts to instigate some protest, and some people back home aren't real happy with kind of the direction they think things are going again, especially people on campuses, college campuses, Kent State being an example of a tragedy that takes place during some protests. But you start to have some backlash against the war again. And certainly the draft's going to play a part in that as well. So there's Kent State, clip on Kent State, and we looked at that. You looked at that perspective last week. Also, the Pentagon Papers are released, and the public finds out some other details about the war that don't shed a real positive light on the government. So some other things are going to happen. The Easter Offensive. I'm not going to get into that right now, but the idea is that the United States wants to achieve what we call peace with honor. We want to leave Vietnam. And although it hasn't gone as planned, we want to leave with honor. Okay, we want to at least make sure that South Vietnam stays democratic. Okay, that's the goal. Okay, that's the goal. So we sign in January of 27. The war goes on for a while, but in January of 27, we sign an agreement to end the war in Vietnam and restore peace. There's an immediate ceasefire. POWs are released. The North Vietnamese still have troops in South Vietnam in some areas, but there's not supposed to be any attacks. So, but we're going to leave. We still have some presence, but most of our troops are leaving there. So that's 73. As soon as we leave, most of our troops leave, there's going to be the North Vietnamese are going to continue to attack. There's still going to be fighting. We're not there. We're not as involved. But the capital of South Vietnam, Saigon, is going to fall in 1975. And what's going to happen here is we have left. So you have South Vietnam, and you have communism, and the North Vietnamese, and look what happens. That ball that's freedom. What happens here? Hey, come on over here. Look what happens. The North Vietnamese take over South Vietnam. They take over Saigon. And what do you rename Saigon?
Ho Chi Minh.
Ho Chi Minh City now, right? It's Ho Chi Minh City, and the North Vietnamese take over South Vietnam. The fall of Saigon takes place. The United States evacuates completely from South Vietnam, and Vietnam as a country becomes communist, and that freedom is taken away. So that's often why we look at Vietnam as we don't achieve the objective. We don't stop the spread of communism. So that's ultimately how the Vietnam War ends. We're out of it. We were there a long time. But communism takes over the entire country, unfortunately, and Vietnamization doesn't work. We are trying to do some of these same things today in places like Afghanistan, right? If you think about Afghanistan, we don't want to be in Afghanistan for decades and decades. We want to train the Afghans to control their own government and to promote democracy on their own. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Thank you again for my special guests, Kami and Carson. And I hope you understand the end of the Vietnam War. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.